Just recently, a powerful delegation of US-based Nigerians comprising of pro-democracy and good governance advocates led by Mr. Bike and Professor Edward Aparoji, chairman of Nigerian-American Coalition for Justice and Democracy, NACJD, paid a diplomatic visit to Congressman Danny Davis of Chicago, Illinois, to trigger US congressional focus on Tinubu's legitimacy as president, especially following his globally trending certificate forgery scandal. This move is in line with the global call and concern of well-meaning Nigerians to protect the integrity and image of Nigeria and Nigerians before the world by stopping a certificate forger and a former drug kingpin from becoming the president of the most populous and promising black nation, aside him not winning the requisite vote to be duly qualified as president. After the fruitful meeting with Congressman Danny Davis, who warmly received the delegation and affirmed his commitment to upholding democratic principles and rule of law, especially as it concerns ensuring a fair, credible, and transparent electoral process in Nigeria, the delegation visited the crime scene university, the Chicago State University, where perhaps the biggest certificate forgery crime was committed. Bottom line, all everyone is saying, from east, west, and north, Europe, Africa, and elsewhere in the world, is that Tinubu must go. #TMG.
That's with my good colleague Gregory Copley of Defense and Foreign Affairs, the editor and publisher. He is traveling. He's in London. We come now to the Nigerian election of 2022, concluded with the victory going to the man representing the establishment, Bola Tinubu. However, there is new information that raises questions a great deal, not only about Tinubu, but about the legitimacy, the trustworthiness, the credibility, the stability of the whole country because of questions raised at the election and misrepresentations. Gregory, what do we know about Tinubu? What do we know about his presentation to the people of Nigeria?
Well, firstly, we have to understand that Nigeria is this great bellwether for Africa. It's the largest population and the largest economy in Africa. It has moved very deliberately past an era of coups which were intended to save democracy in many years past, and the military have not intervened this time and have indicated that they don't want to intervene. But the reality is that the Independent National Electoral Commission really showed that it was bought off by the outgoing administration in order to put their candidate, Bola Tinubu, in the front seat of the election. He won about a third of the votes, 36% of the votes. He won a third of the states in Nigeria, but he failed to win something which was stipulated in the Constitution. He had to win not only a given number of states, but also the federal capital territory around Abuja. He failed to win Abuja. Now, the logical outcome for the Election Commission would have been to call for a second round of voting between the top two candidates, Atiku Abubakar and Bola Tinubu. That they didn't do. They just awarded the election to Tinubu. Now, that's well and good, and it was appealed to the elections court, which again ruled in favor of Tinubu, even though there was a prima facie case of that it violated the Constitution. There are always questions about the bribing and corruption within the courts and within INEC, the Election Commission. But then we've now started to see greater attention being paid to the fact that Bola Tinubu lied and committed forgery and fraud on his election application in sworn documents. So this included a lot about his educational qualifications, which he clearly lied about. And it included failure to disclose his criminal prosecutions in the United States. And as a result, what we've seen belatedly, as a result of a U.S. attempt under the Freedom of Information Act to have documents in the federal government of the United States released into the public domain. Now, in September, the FBI said it would start releasing 500 documents or 500 pages a month of its documents on Tinubu out of 2,500 total pages of material that they have on him. The CIA, the State Department, the IRS, the Drug Enforcement Agency have also got a mass of data about Bola Tinubu's activities in the United States, and they too are preparing to release all this information. And what it's starting to show is that Bola Tinubu has used many aliases along his career, including to gain an education or to gain claims of education, and he basically put pressure on Chicago State University not to release the transcriptions of anything to do with him, because they show that he used different names, that he used several different social security numbers in the United States, some of which were clearly borrowed or fraudulent. He clearly forged a number of documents. He borrowed another person's identity to file studies which were required educationally. So he's done a number of things, but he particularly was prosecuted in Chicago in the 1990s for narcotics trafficking. And he basically pleaded no contest to that and escaped with a forfeiture of $460,000 rather than go to prison. So there's a lot which is coming out about him. So the appeal against the election outcome after being rejected by the election courts is now getting ready to go to the Supreme Court of Nigeria. That's going to be accompanied by all of this other information about Tinubu's forgeries, if Bola Tinubu is in fact his name, but he's lied on about literally every aspect of his life. So it gets to be a very interesting situation. It's to the point now where if the Supreme Court does not overturn this election, then there will be serious consequences. I've had it, and that's one of the reasons I'm in London speaking to a lot of my African correspondents who've come up to meet me, is that there will be consequences such as a move to impeach President Tinubu, starting either in the Senate or in the House of Representatives in Nigeria. But certainly there's cooperation among House and Senate people, politicians there, to start not only an impeachment of the president to overturn the election, but also to start censuring or impeaching the Supreme Court if it fails to do its duty, and also, of course, to start prosecuting officials within INEC, the Independent National Election Commission, as well. So this starts to get very, very ugly. The military has basically said, well, we don't want to be back in government ever again. It's just too damaging to the country to restart the clock every time. But what you will see is an increase in public unrest. You'll see the government being unable to coordinate any compromises with its neighbours in ECOWAS, the Economic Community of West African States, in the fight against the jihadist movements such as Boko Haram and Islamic State West Africa and the like. So this is going to get really ugly really quickly and will further impact the Nigerian economy unless the Supreme Court does its duty. Now, I raise that
we have a minute, Gregory. Go ahead. We have a minute.
The Supreme Court is actually being assaulted by the Tinubu State House with bribery offers and all manner of coercive measures. So the 7 justices who we now know have been chosen for this Supreme Court case really are up against a massive dilemma, whether they cave to corruption, which they may, or whether they bring the country into real chaos.
Has either the UK government or the US government commented? We've got 30 seconds.
No, they have not commented, but the fact that the US government has now caved completely and is releasing documents over 5 major agencies, starting with the FBI, is a statement in itself.
Gregory Copley, editor and publisher of Defense and Foreign Affairs. He's traveling. He's in London. The unfinished and deeply, deeply troubled election of 2022 in Nigeria, influencing all of Africa. Everybody watches very carefully what happens in Nigeria. This is CBS.
Hello, everyone. Today I'm going to answer a question that has been going on around. A lot of people have been, talking about it both on social media and even in private conversations away from offline and online. Is Peter Obi afraid of a protest? Why is he not calling for a protest? I've seen somewhere where someone said, I'm not going to mention any other person's name other than Peter Obi here, where he said, oh, if it was so-and-so candidate with the kind of support that he has all over Nigeria, he would have been on the streets and marching and everything. Oh, I've also seen places where, I think a popular musician recently talked about the fact that, oh, Peter Obi did an MC Oluomo and stuff like that. Is Peter Obi afraid to call for a protest or afraid of a protest? No. It's all about responsible leadership. And for the few, I think it's like over a year now, that I've worked closely with Mr. Peter Obi, and one of the things I would say is that, one, he's a very responsible leader. And another thing is that he always is protective of everybody around him. And he would rather want to face whatever it is himself and not sort of whether endanger anybody or put anybody out, just put anybody out. Even during the campaign, you see, he was always mindful of his team, mindful of the people around him. So it's not fair. It's not that he's afraid to call for a protest. It's not that, whether he knows that, of course, he has a lot of support from all over the country. And even right from when the election started and everything, that he just needs to give a word and say, look, I'm going out, I'm going to be here. People were ready, just waiting for that word. But like I said earlier, responsible leadership and one who would rather put himself on the line than any other person is what this is all about. I will give you a quick example. Like I said, I'm not going to mention any, but I'll give you a quick example. During the campaign, there was a particular, there were some musicians who had wanted to be at a particular place. I remember there was this day we're going back and forth. In short, I think almost how many hours I was sending messages back and forth, myself and PO, and like simply, we need to have them here and everything. He was very reluctant. It took a while before he finally agreed. And when we spoke, he was like, look, Aisha, I don't want them to be, I'm just trying to give you the words the way he gave me, even if let me paraphrase it. I don't want them to be, I'm looking for the word he used now, or similar word, to be the target of the government. Because he said, these are young men and they have, they have their career, they're doing their thing. They can come after them. I don't want them to come after them. Those were his words. And for me, I'm like, but this is really massive. I was giving my all this. I totally agree. I know how the Nigerian government can be so vindictive and they go after people. Not necessarily, it's not about him. He is not afraid for himself. He's ready to face whatever it is. But he just doesn't want anybody else, going through any hardship or facing any persecution or anything on his behalf. He's very mindful of that. And, it took a while before, that finally happened. But those were his. And for me, he kept those words, even though at that time I didn't agree with him, we were going back and forth. I'm like, look, PO, we need to get this. These are the reasons why we will get this done. Later on, we did, of course, it did happen, but then not at the time that we really wanted it to. Sometimes throughout the campaign, I'm always like, that's one of my regrets. I should have just gone ahead and done that instead of just back and forth and stuff like that. But it showed me the kind of person, the kind of thinking behind it. And for me, I've always said, Empathy is very important when you're talking about leadership. When you're talking about someone who wants to lead the people, you need someone who cares for the people, someone who is not thinking about himself only, who is not saying, oh, I have this huge people who support me. I have this number of people who listen to me, who, when I say something, they listen. And if I ask them to do something for me, I've never asked them for as a favor. If I ask them of this favor, they're going to be all out. They're going to do it for me. But yet, he doesn't know. He hasn't done that, because for him, it's like, I'm going to follow this thing to the end. I'm going to do it the legitimate way. And for those who feel that, oh, Peter Obi needs an MC Olomo, God forbid. He doesn't need an MC Olomo. You understand? He doesn't need that. The reason why I'm mentioning this particular name, because an artist had used it. He doesn't need to have people that will fight for him. No, that will probably do things that are not lawful. No, he doesn't want that. He wants to show that this thing can be done within the ambit of the law. It can be done in a decent manner. It can be done with integrity. It can be done in an ethical manner. And that's it. Politics is not a do or die affair. Politics is not one where you're hurting someone, or you're shedding blood, or you're doing anything. Politics is not one where you're threatening people. That's not politics. Even though over the 24 years that Nigeria has had this democracy, its longest democracy, it's been made to look as if you need all of these things for you to be able to succeed in politics. No, it isn't. That's the wrong kind of politics, and that's why the dividends of democracy Nigeria hasn't enjoyed it. That's why leaders get in there, they don't care about the people. I mean, if you care about the people, you're going to protect them up to the way you get into office. If you're coming in and you don't care about the lives of people, you're just going after, just doing whatever it is that you want to do, irrespective of who is hurt, who is killed, who whatever, what is destroyed, just to get into office. I can assure you that when you get into office, definitely such a person is never going to do any good for the people, because if you care about the people, you won't hurt them in the process of going into office. So no, it's not that Peter Obi is afraid or whatever. As I see people, even the speech, I'm going to do another video to analyze the speech and everything. The recent press conference that he called, many people are like, oh, he needs to use certain hard words, he needs to call for. No, he's in court. He's in court. It's not going to preempt the court or begin to call. He's not going to be the judge and jury in this whole thing. He's going to follow within those ambits of the law, and that's what responsible leadership is. And I know most times we get people who, it's always whatever it takes for them to get whatever they want, they will do it. That's the kind of leaders we've had in politics. But I think it's time for us to be open-minded to the fact that there can be responsible leadership, there can be value-based leadership, there can be leadership with empathy that thinks about the people, and it's not all about, oh, I have to get this thing by all means. I have to get I had to heat up the polity or get people angry and mad and out there and doing all those things. No, that's not what it's all about. I know it's going to take time, but if we really want the democracy that works for everyone and not the democracy that works for a few people, then we must be ready to follow the ambit of the law, anything that has to be done within the ambit of the law to be able to get there. I always say to people, you can't fight, you can't be the people you fight. You can't be the people you want to change that are doing the wrong thing. The only people that you can aspire to be is the people who are doing the right thing. And if you say people aren't doing the right thing and you want to come in and set the things right and do the right thing, then if you're going to come in and go in doing the things or going in the way that those people who have been doing the wrong thing have gone in, then you're going to end up doing the wrong thing also. So you can't be the people that you want to change that aren't doing the right thing. So no matter how slow we think it is to follow that process. Follow the process through. The process is very important. I know in Nigeria, this issue of getting shortcut is always looked at as the smart way. Oh, do whatever you want to do, no matter how unlawful or unethical it is. Just get in there. After all, the end will justify the means. Is it the means? Yeah, the end will justify the means. No, the end shouldn't justify the means. The means should be one with integrity, one that is ethical, one that is lawful within the ambit of the law, and one that has empathy, that ensures that it is taking the people as a whole and thinking about them and how to give them what is really best. That's what we should do. So, is Peter Obi afraid to call for a protest? No, absolutely not. He's not afraid to call for a protest. He's a responsible leader who is focused on ensuring that Nigeria gets the best way it should, and that the means and process that brings people in for them to be called excellency must be excellent. Thank you so much.